Acrylic, the most misunderstood fiber in the knitting community. Also, why is nylon in some of our more luxurious fibers? Hello and welcome back to another Ollie Knits Nerdumentary. Today's deep dive is going to be on acrylic. The good, the bad, and everything in between. If you're new here, my name is Arlene. I am a knitwear designer based in the Netherlands, originally from South Africa. On this channel, we do deep dives on yarn, techniques, and designs that shape the garments we make. In previous episodes, we've explored things like linen and merino blends, linen on its own. We've talked about silk merino and is it actually worth it? We talk a lot about where fibers come from, how they behave, and why understanding the materials we work with can completely change the way that we craft. And today we're tackling one of the most controversial knitting fibers, acrylic. Some knitters, acrylic is a dirty word. It's often described as cheap, plasticky, unsustainable, and somehow less worthy than other more natural fibers such as wool, silk, alpaca, cotton. But what if I told you that synthetic fibers are actually holding together some of the most luxurious yarns in the whole world? What if I told you nylon routinely shows up in blends like mohair, silk, cashmere, even alpaca, woven into the threads to make it a lot more durable and make it last a lot longer? And what if I told you acrylic, despite its reputation, has made a craft like knitting and crocheting accessible to everyone around the world? Today we're going to explore what acrylic really is, where it comes from, why so many knitters have mixed feelings about it, and why synthetic fibers deserve a much more nuanced conversation than they usually get. So make yourself a cup of tea, grab your knitting, and let's get nerdy. What is acrylic? Acrylic fiber is a synthetic fiber. That basically means it's been made by humans and it hasn't been made by an animal or grown by plants. Wool comes from a sheep. Linen comes from flax, silk comes from silkworms, cotton comes from the fluffy little part around the flower of the cotton plant. And acrylic, by contrast, comes from polymers derived from petrochemicals, usually in a lab. That does sound rather dramatic, but what it really means is scientists have engineered a fiber with very specific properties: warmth, softness, lightweight, and color retention. In many ways, acrylic was designed to mimic wool. Both are lightweight, both trap air well. Acrylic can also be dyed in incredibly vibrant colors, and it holds those colors really, really well. But the main factor is that it's relatively inexpensive to produce. So in short, acrylic is not fake wool. It's a deliberately engineered fabric designed to solve practical problems. And whether we liked it or not, it changed the textile industry completely. The history of acrylic. Acrylic fiber was designed in the 20th century during an extraordinary developmental process in synthetic fibers. Companies like DuPont, I think I'm pronouncing that properly, were experimenting with fibers that could be mass-produced with very specific qualities. The same era gave us nylon, polyester, and pretty much most of the synthetic fibers that you see today. These inventions back then and today are considered revolutionary. For the first time, manufacturers could create a fiber that was affordable, consistent in quality, easy to care for, resistant to moth damage, and available in pretty much any color you could think of. Acrylic quickly became popular for things like children's wear, blankets, anything that required heavy washing because it could take that beating, because it offered warmth and softness at a fraction of the price. For many families, acrylic made making something by hand affordable. And that's really the point, because while luxury fibers are fantastic, not everyone can spend a large amount of money on them. Acrylic helped to democratize knitting. Why acrylic became so popular? One of the most incredible things about knitting is it can be both an art form and a practical necessity. Historically, people knitted because they needed warm clothing, and affordability has kind of always mattered. Acrylic made it possible for beginners to experiment without the fear of wasting a good yarn, parents to knit washable garments for their children, charities could produce blankets and other garments economically, and makers on a tight budget could fully participate in the craft. This is one of the reasons I feel quite strongly that no one fiber should be dismissed simply because it's inexpensive. Creativity shouldn't be limited to your budget. The value of knitted items really lies in the time and the energy and the thought that went into every little stitch. Why some knitters dislike acrylic. At the same time, the criticism of acrylic is not without its merits. Acrylic often tends to be a lot less breathable than pretty much any other fiber. It can still pull. Who'd have thought? And then my personal gripe against acrylic is that it retains odors. And because it's basically a plastic cake, it can release tiny little microplastics every time you wash it. A lot of knitters object to acrylic because it's not biodegradable. This is just going to end up in a landfill somewhere, someday. And this is one of the most significant ethical conversations around synthetic fibers, and a very valid one. A lot of knitters feel deeply connected to the fact that their craft is earth-based, and eventually it will return back to the earth. And I personally think that perspective is completely understandable. The sustainability question is more complex than it appears. At the same time, sustainability is really as simple as saying natural good, synthetic bad. The real question could be, how much is that garment used, and how much value does it produce while you have it? Say a hand-knitted acrylic garment that you wear almost every day could necessarily have more environmental benefits than one that's fully natural that you discard over maybe 1 or 2 wears. As knitters, we create garments slowly and intentionally. We invest a lot of time and energy into making our clothes. We repair our knits, hopefully we treasure them, and often we pass them down onto others. That longevity matters. Natural fibers are biodegradable, but they are not impact-free. Sheep farming requires land and resources. Cotton, believe it or not, can use a lot of water. Silk has a lot of conversations around it. Then there's also dyeing and shipping, which has its toll on the environment too. So in other words, there's no perfectly impact-free textile. Unless you have your own little tiny bit of land and you own a sheep and you shear that little sheepy yourself and then make sweaters, then you're doing great. I want to be that person so badly. But at the end of the day, the most sustainable garment is the one that justifies the resources used to produce it. Meaning, how loved is it? How worn is it? A fiber is a tool. One of the ideas I return to repeatedly as a designer is this. Every fiber is a tool. Linen offers drape and structure, merino offers softness and elasticity, silk adds sheen and fluidity, alpaca contributes warmth and halo, and acrylic offers accessibility, affordability, and it's fully washable. No single fiber is completely perfect for every project. The best yarn is going to be the one that aligns perfectly with the needs of your garment. Why nylon appears in luxury yarns. Nylon is perhaps one of the most revealing examples of how synthetic fibers are used strategically. Nylon is exceptionally strong. It resists abrasion and it adds durability without taking on too much weight. This is why you'll often see it in things like sock yarns or blended in with other very delicate yarns like cashmere, silk, baby alpaca or bamboo, Your classic sock blend is usually going to contain 75% wool and 25% nylon. That's quite a lot of nylon. The wool's providing the warmth and the elasticity, but the nylon's making sure that every step you take, you're not wearing holes directly into the ground. You know, like your heel and toe can withstand years and years of walkies. Without nylon, a lot of delicate fibers would wear out very, very quickly. And this is where the synthetic equals bad conversation becomes a little bit more tricky. Because even the more expensive yarns often rely on this engineering for durability. I'm going to use my yarn cake as an example now. As discussed, we've got the 50% acrylic, 16% linen, and 34% cotton. And in this case, every fiber is doing a little job. The acrylic is providing the softness. This is deceptively soft. I would have thought at this point in my career I would be able to feel acrylic, because I usually can. To me it's got like almost a squeaky sensation on my fingertips, but just listen to this. This is almost cloud-like. It's so soft and airy. So I just thought that when you blended cotton and linen together, because I haven't experienced that blend yet, this is what you got. I've touched cotton and spun cotton, and it is really, really, really soft. So yeah, it's adding that softness to what would otherwise be two very strong fibers, crisp, strong fibers. And it is also adding durability. I'm definitely going to be able to machine wash this. And of course, it was really affordable. The first red flag I should have known. Cotton here is adding cool touch and breathability. And the linen here at such a small percentage is really just going to add, yeah, now I feel the squeak, is really just going to add durability and structure. That beautiful crisp quality that slowly drapes over time. So together they're creating a yarn that's very likely going to be soft yet structured, cooler than pure acrylic, more affordable than what it's implying, cotton and linen. Are there moments when acrylic blends are a great choice? Acrylic blends are especially useful when you want character of a natural fiber at a lower cost, easier washing and yarn care, improved softness and durability, and of course, accessibility. In many cases, acrylic is not there to replace a natural fiber. Each yarn has its own strengths, and when you put them together, they all come together to create something that none of them could do on their own. A little bit more about synthetic fibers in luxury fibers. Think about cashmere. It's exquisitely soft, but it's also very delicate. If you've knitted with cashmere before, you may have noticed how quickly it pulls. Silk is incredibly lustrous, but it lacks all resilience in garments that need a bit of structure. Suri alpaca creates such a stunning halo, but it can be really delicate and very easily fall apart. A small percentage of a synthetic fiber like acrylic or nylon can help all of these things do their job without just falling apart on the first way. So I guess not all synthetic fibers are a compromise. Sometimes they really are just an engineering solution. So when does acrylic make sense? As I've already mentioned, it's just perfect for babies, blankets, doggy sweaters, entry-level beginner projects, budget yarns, mass-produced projects like charity events. And there are a lot of people who are actually sensitive to many of the natural fibers. It gives them an allergic reaction. And in that case, acrylic does make perfect sense. But I think its most enduring quality is that it just lowers the barrier for the entry level. No beginner should be experimenting with a luxury yarn. Your skill is going to grow through practice, not through price. So my personal perspective. As a designer, I am deeply fascinated by yarn behavior. I absolutely adore linen for its drape while still having so much structure. I am a little bit obsessed with the sheen of silk. I have a bit of an alpaca obsession. I mean, so all of that yarn all the way at the top is alpaca, all of that natural and dyed alpaca over there. Baby alpaca, and then right above it is baby suri. Like, I have a problem. Merino, especially a super fine merino, this is for me pure luxury. But I also believe that understanding a fiber is way more valuable than just judging it at surface level. Acrylic isn't inherently good or bad. It's simply a material amongst many others. And like all of the materials, it's gonna have a place and a space in your stash. So, is acrylic the villain with the origin story? I don't think so. It's an engineered fiber with clear advantages and real limitation. It does remind me often that synthetic doesn't mean inferior. The more we understand the yarn that we use, the better equipped we're going to be to choose the right yarns for the right projects. Ultimately, that knowledge makes us better knitters or better designers. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me. If you enjoyed this deep dive, I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you knit with acrylic? Do you avoid it? Did you already know that some of the most luxurious yarns in the world contain synthetic fibers? Drop a comment below if you have any answers to those questions. If you found this video helpful, please like it, subscribe, share it with your knitting friends. If you would like to take a look at any of my patterns, the typewriter shawl, typewriter cardigan, the Arlino top, they're all available over on my website at arlyknits.com. I've also just released my very first ebook, the Spring Collection 2026. It is currently running on a discount, only 16 euros. You get 4 patterns, the cashmere outside tee, the typewriter shawl, and the typewriter cardigan, as well as my silky merino wraparound cardigan. And you also get 4 deeply thought out articles on the fibers, fashion history, and some slightly more personal ones. Until next time, happy knitting!